Oh, Steph says we're on right now.
We're on.
Hey, welcome to What's Good with John and Joyce. And what's good is we're hanging out together, you and I this time.
I know. I'm laughing because I feel like we did such a great show before this, just talking.
Right.
About music and things.
Yeah, the behind-the-scenes stuff that, and we're thinking we have a show here. We have a couple of shows at the behind-the-scenes, but Joyce, something near and dear to our heart. By the way, welcome to What's Good with John and Joyce, available on all streaming platforms. What's Good with John and Joyce is sponsored by Woodwinds Wedding and Special Events Venue in Brantford, Connecticut, and Silvio's award-winning Italian sauces, which you can buy anytime online at silviosauces.com. That's silviosauces.com. Go to YouTube today, type in What's Good with John and Joyce, share it with everybody you know, because quite frankly, the more subscribers we get on YouTube, the more sponsors we can get, and we could take this thing to a higher level and do more good because of your help.
We just want to be able to reach more people with good thoughts, just a show that will relax you when you listen to it and get you away from the news and all that stuff. So that's why we call it What's Good, because we only talk about what's good.
That's right. We are here to talk about something near and dear to our heart today. Music, Joyce. I mean, music just soothes the soul. It's therapy.
Mm-hmm. It is therapy.
Can you imagine a world without music?
No. I think there was always a world with. I think they were always like making music,
right?
And some banging rocks, making music.
Reminds me of an old song called "Troglodyte." That was a big hit in the 70s. Troglodyte, K-man, K-woman. Look it up.
Okay.
1971
I do not
RCA.
know that song, thankfully.
By the Jimmy Castor Bunch. Check it out, because some of you folks are saying this guy's nuts, which is okay, but go look it up.
Did Jimmy
Castor Bunch, Troglodyte.
Did Jimmy Castor Bunch do other things too?
Yeah, they had a song called Ape Man.
Okay.
Ape Man. Yep. You'll hear it every now and then, but if you're under 50 years old, you probably never heard it. So that was
his niche?
Yeah.
Like
it was called Troglodyte.
Did he do a Halloween song? Or?
Well, Ape Man. I guess they could both be considered Halloween.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in our Halloween show next month.
Well, they didn't have the catalog, of course, of Fab Four, but they did have a couple of hits.
The Beatles. Well, I'm wearing the Beatles shirt because this is the first album that I ever bought.
Mm-hmm.
To say I love the Beatles would be a grand understatement.
Yes.
As my mother said one day, she walked into my room and she said, first I'll tell you what she said. She said, "Joyce, can't you do anything in moderation, or why are you such an extremist?" And I said, "What?" She took a picture of me. Yeah. I have that picture someplace. And I'm standing amidst on my walls. I mean, it wasn't just a poster of the Beatles. It was the length of the wall of all four of them. And this one and that one. And I had a shirt on and I had pins on. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah. But I loved.
What was it about them that really got your attention?
Something, it was like an awakening within me. And some people thought that I loved the Beatles. Like I wanted to marry a Beatle. I wanted to be a Beatle. Oh. I even got a guitar and I would sit listening to them and I would try to play. I have no talent. No talent.
You have a lot of talent in other areas.
Yeah, playing music or singing is not one of them. Right. But I got immersed into it. Prior to that, because I was the youngest of three, I listened to what they were playing, because I was always playing in the house Bob Dylan or Joan Baez or something like that. But when the Beatles hit, I can't explain that phenomenon that happened, because it happened worldwide.
Like an explosion.
Yeah, that really resonated within me. So much so that when I was 12 years old, I walked to the big library in New Haven, Connecticut, and I had the idea that I bet one of their phone numbers is listed in an old directory that I could find. So I went and asked the librarian, could I see some old phone books from England? She said, sure, we have them.
That was genius.
I was just like
in Liverpool, right? Specifically.
Yes. So I found George Harrison's mother's name in Liverpool on Mackett's Lane. And guess what I did?
Called.
I called. And at that time, you had to pay
Right.
So
A lot of money.
I just prayed my mother and father wouldn't see the bill.
Yeah.
But I called, and his sister Louise answered. And I told them who I was,
Yeah.
and that I'm a huge fan. I live in the United States, blah, blah, blah. And she said, give me your address. So I gave her my address, and they sent me paraphernalia, a sketch of George. And then I'm so sorry. We're going to talk music, but
That's fine.
This is music.
Yeah.
So the next thing I did is I wrote her and I asked if she would send me a list of girls my age in the neighborhood who lives on Mackett's Lane, and if they want to become pen pals with American girls. Now, in this day and age, it would be emails, but I asked for addresses.
Yeah.
She sent me She sent me about 30 addresses, and I called WAVZ in New Haven.
13 Waves.
Yeah,
That was my first job in radio.
Was it?
13 Waves in KC 101 at the
Yep.
time.
And I asked if they would like to do a contest. And the winners of contests would get the names of a person that lived on Mackett's Lane for George Harrison's, connection. And they did. Wow. And then I did another one through George Harrison's sister called Rings for Ringo. So then, but Waves called me. It was like, I think his name was Tracy, who was the DJ at the time, and asked me if I'd like to come in and discuss the Beatles. They didn't know I was 12 years old.
Wow.
They had no idea. So when they saw me, it was like, oh, it was like this.
They thought you were maybe 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did let me, pull news stories and things like that.
Well, what a great memory. I mean, just how benevolent she was to set you up with all those pen pals.
Oh, she's wonderful. Yeah. But in the 80s, when I had a party at my house, and I probably was silly enough to show all my paraphernalia and signed albums and everything, they were gone, taken.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Don't know who to this day. Don't even want to know. Yeah. But it's like, gosh,
it's just
not all of that gone.
Sad.
But that was my, beginnings of music and being so happy listening. And
so to speak.
It really was, yeah. And my parents couldn't understand it at all. I got thrown out of elementary school class because I came in one day with my pins all over my jacket and I cut my hair like the Beatles.
You had the bangs.
I did the whole thing. And the sister, because it was a Catholic school, wouldn't let me in. And I was sent home. And then my mother was just like, oh, God. So I just fixed my hair. Right. So, it didn't look like a Beatles cut and took all the pins off me.
Well, it seems like every generation goes through that because, when Sinatra came out, the Bobby Soxers all went crazy and a lot of the Navy men didn't like him because they were a little bit jealous of him, whatever. And then, of course, when Elvis came out, it was Elvis Mania and he was banned by all the churches. He was the devil and all that. And you look at the stuff that he did now and the Beatles, and it's tame compared to a lot of stuff you see nowadays.
So what was your first album?
Oh, man.
Or CD? I mean, because you were always working in radio.
I know. I mean,
prior to that.
Usually they say when you're like 11, 12, 13 years old, that's when your music taste is kind of formed. Mm-hmm. That's when you start really acknowledging music. So, late 60s, early 70s really was like my jam for a while. But I really can't remember because music was always playing in our house, all genres. My mom and dad loved everything. Yeah. Dad had the old 78s. We were playing jazz. We were playing gospel, blues, rock and roll, rhythm and blues. Oh, yeah.
Music, yeah.
It was like a melting pot in my house. So we heard it all. And I loved it all. And I was never a musical snob. I loved it all. Whether it be watching Soul Train or the Lawrence Welk Show or Glenn Campbell, Johnny Cash, it didn't make any difference. I loved it all, whether it was rock, pop, country, rhythm, and blues. So I grew up that way. And still to this day, I never want to lose that childlike innocence.
Right.
And I still listen to a lot of new music. And I probably know the new music as well as any 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Oh, that's
The
great.
top 40 music of today, because I have to play with my DJ business.
Yes, yes.
You know, and I play it
So
on the
you hear-
radio and our top 40.
And whatever you keep hearing over and over, sometimes it does grow on you.
It does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good new music out when people have a tendency, when they get older, to think, oh, nothing like the old music.
Right.
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that.
I don't buy it at all. We can continue to grow and evolve, because I don't want to be that person, oh, the old days were the best days. And no, these are the good old days, as Carly Simon said in her song.
Yes. These are the good old
Right?
days.
Yeah, these are the good old days.
So I was thinking of like songs that made me happy.
Right.
So what songs would, what I don't know, like what would uplift you? Maybe you didn't go through, did you go through the angst of a teenage girl?
Oh, I remember back in the day when your biggest challenge was who you going to go out with over the weekend, or what your mom was going to pack for lunch the next day.
Right, right.
It seems so trivial compared. But when I remember growing up hearing songs like "Build Me Up, Buttercup," Foundations, that
See,
made
that's
me
a fun
happy.
song.
Your Mama Don't Dance, Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu in the early 70s, mid-70s, Crocodile Rock,
Yeah.
Bad Bad Leroy Brown, all the fun stuff.
Right.
And I loved a lot of the R&B disco stuff
Yeah.
of the 70s. I loved rock and roll. I loved country.
And you love, Elvis. Elvis really,
Yeah.
wait, Elvis really crossed like country also.
Elvis
like,
was
and
everything.
gospel.
I
He
mean,
did,
Elvis
yeah.
is the only artist who's in 5 or 6 different halls of fame. He's in the Rock Hall of Fame, the blues, the country, gospel. I think he's in some of the rockabilly. He's in them all.
Have you gone to Graceland?
I have.
You have.
I went
What
to
was
Graceland.
that like?
It was a lot smaller than I thought. It was pretty gaudy.
Really?
But what blew my mind was the big giant museum with all the gold and platinum records from all over the world, and like keys to the city. So anytime he'd go to a city, mayors would meet with him, governors, and presidents would go to his movie sets and meet with him.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was like incredible. I mean, how super, super popular he was and still is in 2025.
And still is. I don't think there's been anyone like him.
Nope. As far as solo artists, no. Nobody comes close. And the Beatles, so Elvis and the Beatles are probably the biggest icons
Yes.
of all time
Yeah.
in music,
Right.
bar none. If you want to go by record sales, too, both of them.
The Beatles really opened the doors for England. I mean, the Mercy Beat
Oh,
came over here big
Dave
time.
Clark 5 and
Yeah.
Peter and Gordon and all those great bands.
Yeah, we started to hear about them, and that's where my mind was.
Right.
I wanted to be there. I wanted to live in Liverpool and
Yep.
and just be part of that scene.
And you and I met when I was working at PLR. We were both working at PLR in the 80s. And we just connected right away, which led to the podcast now that we're doing together,
Yes.
which is wonderful.
Yes.
But you were doing, I think, promotions and things at PLR when we were in New Haven, Connecticut. And up on the second floor, they had the studio.
Yes.
And they had the couch, and they had a pool table.
Pool table.
And we'd have to close the door sometimes because we'd be going on the radio talking.
Right.
99 Rock, WPLR with Van Halen in the pools. You hear the sound of the balls, in the background.
Clacking in the
The
background.
clacking, exactly. It's like, guys, hey, we're on the air here, And
Yeah.
great. But it was just so much fun because it was so loose. And it was a
Right.
community at PLR at the time.
It was
I loved
real community. I used to love staying there after hours when I could because, I was that teenage mom, so I had little kids at home. But the Lich.
Oh, the
You know,
Lich.
love
Whatever happened
Lich.
to the Lich?
Lich, if you listen to this, contact us, please.
We love the Lich. Working with
I
him.
loved him.
Great man. And had a passion for music second to none.
Second to none.
He was a music encyclopedia, this guy.
Oh, yeah, he was. He did a show with Jimmy Koplick, I know, on PBS. for a
Love
while
Jimmy
about
Koplick
music.
from Live Nation. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jimmy, for everything you contributed to our state and beyond. Shelley
Yes.
Finkel, Jim Koplick.
Yeah, it was fabulous. But Lich, I would go into the studio, after 5 o'clock, and he would crank Journey.
Oh, love Jimmy.
I mean,
He loved Journey.
crank it. And I loved it.
Yeah.
And he would be playing drums on the counter, because he was a drummer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always had the bandana on.
He always had the bandana on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like this, not suspenders, what do you call it? The like the denim jump thing.
Yeah.
Like a farmer style.
Yeah, almost like the farmers, but a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
But
was a
it's
very
still good
unique
style.
character.
really unique.
But just think of the great people we've worked with over the years in radio.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too many to mention, but we work with some of the greats, here in the Connecticut marketplace and beyond.
Well, that's what launched my business for over 20 years, working with Michael Bolton and Mariah Carey and everything.
John Mellencamp, Carly Simon, Billy Squire, right? You worked with them?
Oh, no, I wanted to work. Do you see these pins? Do you notice that I've got Billy Squire pins on?
You never worked with Billy Squire?
No.
Really? I thought you did.
No, he's the one I wanted to.
Love Billy Squire.
We were supposed to meet with him. It was me, Michael, and we were at Sherman's Tavern, which is now the Union restaurant.
We're talking some local Connecticut stuff
we're
here,
talking,
folks.
but Billy Squire was playing with Rat.
Yeah, round and round
at the New Haven Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
So he was invited to join Michael at Sherman's Tavern on the Green. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm finally going to get to meet him. I love his music. I love the fact that he wrote his music.
Yes.
Like he produced his videos.
He did it all.
He really did. And that's what I respect about a lot of musicians when they can do that. And I think his keyboard player at the time probably did more too. Alan St. John showed up.
Yes.
But Billy wasn't showing up. But there was no cell phone then to call. Coliseum was already closed.
Right.
Who were we going to call? So we waited. They left, and they left with they had a bottle of champagne on the table. So I said, I'm just going to sit here and wait. So I just kept sipping away. And then I realized like an hour later, okay, this is not going to happen. And when I went to get up, John, I was so drunk. I didn't even realize it until I thought, oh my God, I can't walk.
Right.
So I had to hold on to tables, get myself out.
Gingerly walk.
To my car.
Oh.
Sorry to say.
Did you drive?
Yeah, I drove.
Oh.
I didn't know how else to get home.
Yeah.
I drove really slowly, and I was thanking God that I made it home and I didn't get arrested.
By God's grace, yes.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was my almost meeting with Billy Squire, but he's one of the ones that eluded me. But when he played in concert and...
You opened up for Queen, too.
Yes, that's a concert I saw with my husband-to-be, Wayne. And
God rest his soul. Love you, Wayne.
Yes. And I loved him so much that night because we took my sons, we took a friend of theirs, and he said to me, go up to the stage. And I thought, I love this guy. He gets this. He's not jealous that I love Billy Squire. And
he was comfortable enough in himself.
Oh, he was comfortable in his own skin.
I love that.
Yeah. So he's got a great photo we'll probably put up of Billy on stage.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
And yeah, it's a really good photo, and some of Queen as well. But I loved Queen, but I love Billy.
Right. You love Queen.
Sort of dancing around, and it was fun. It was just such a fun night.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Great memories.
Maybe I was meant not to work with Billy Squire because you know what?
Sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes.
You don't want to meet your heroes, but here's what happened. What happened with me anyway. Working, I was always backstage. Whether it was Oakdale Theater, backstage. Palace Theater, backstage. Opening my own business, working with artists, backstage. And stuff happens, like who didn't get their backstage passes. Joyce, I was always called, whether I was meeting with the radio people or whatever, there would be someone on a microphone saying, Joyce, can you please come to this room? Can you please come to the green room or whatever?
I'm sure you put out a lot of fires, too.
Yes, a lot of fires. So then I started to not enjoy going to concerts because it brought back memories of work instead of enjoying it. So the one concert, I did not want to meet the guy that I also really loved, because I just love music, was Johnny Mathis.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Wayne to cover that show for me because usually, he would take pictures, but then you'd have to make sure that their writer was met and all that. And Wayne could do that, and he knew, the
When
owners.
you talk about the rider,
well.
you mean what they are kind of demanding, so to
Yeah,
speak, to have
like what's on
backstage.
their list to make sure they got the right water.
Like Van
blah, blah,
Halen
blah.
didn't want the green M&Ms or something. right?
That was always the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went and covered another show that night. It was Jay Leno that they were also doing in Hartford. So I went to the Jay Leno show. I left Wayne with Johnny Mathis.
Oh, geez.
And I came home and I said, so how did it go? And Wayne just said to me, oh, Joyce, he said, this is the show you shouldn't have missed. He said, Johnny Mathis cooked for us all.
Oh, no.
Cooked.
That's right. He was quite the
Yes.
chef from what I...
And they all just sat around talking to him.
What
And
a cool
like,
memory,
I
huh?
could hear my heart breaking.
And the thing is, he was a big track star, too.
Yes, I do
He
remember.
was a
Yes, I
great
saw
runner.
a documentary on him.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
talent, Johnny Mathis.
Yeah, so it was Johnny Mathis. I didn't get to meet, but I just and also with Julie Andrews. I had Wayne cover Julie Andrews because she's just so,
That's right. I think she played in
spectacular.
the original production of My Fair Lady in the 50s. My wife and I went to see it locally here in Connecticut at the Iverson
Yeah, that's
Playhouse.
when we talk about movies. That's one of my favorite musicals, My
What a
Fair Lady.
Great musical. I could have danced
With
all
Audrey Hepburn.
night and,
But she was such a lady that when Audrey Hepburn met her, and Audrey Hepburn even said, you should have had that role. She said, my dear, it was meant for you.
yes.
Was very gracious.
It's like the old
of her.
adage, if it was meant to be, it would have been her role.
Yes.
But Julia wasn't hurting too much,
Yeah.
And
So Wayne covered that show for me because I thought, I don't want to find out she's a prima donna or a diva. Again,
Yep.
not only the best, but it's pictures of her that she's in her bathrobe with her glasses on,
Wow.
and she didn't care. She was just sitting there
Comfortable in her own
talking.
skin.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate, Joyce, between the two of us, to meet so many great entertainers over the
Yes.
years, all different genres. I know you've worked with a lot of comedians, too, that you've really enjoyed.
I really love the
Boy.
comedians. There's not one comedian that I didn't have.
And, of course, one of my favorites, Regis.
Regis was
Love Regis
absolutely
Philbin.
wonderful.
Loved him.
Yeah. So down to earth.
Yes.
What he was on TV was exactly how he was,
Right.
off TV.
But I used to love, with him and Kathy Lee, but also when his wife came on.
Joy.
Joy,
Yes.
she was great,
Yeah,
too.
they were great together. As is like Kelly now with Mark. There's just that
Yeah.
synergy between
They're a
them.
great combo, too.
Yes.
They really are.
So speaking about music, I just,
okay.
so Michael, because I spoke about Michael, because Michael Bolton, I met him, I met him at Toad's Place,
Michael
really
Beloten,
going
right?
back.
His real name?
Yeah, it was Michael Beloten. He was with Blackjack.
They were great. We were playing them at
Uh-huh.
PLR, too. They had kind of a harder rock sound.
Well, that's the Michael Bolton that I knew best. Leather pants.
Yes.
Bandana around his neck. And
Yep.
he was rock and roll.
Sure
He was rock and roll, but he wrote music.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote Laura Branigan's How Am I Supposed to Live Without
Oh, what a
You?
great
And,
song.
so many great heartfelt songs. And behind the scenes, they, decided with the record company that that's the way he should go. But he was always a rocker,
Yeah.
at heart.
But
And
he had a big female following, especially with his love
Huge,
songs. Big
huge.
following. And
so when he was at Toad's Place, I would see the women, the sea of women singing along to his first entitled album, Michael Bolton, that came out in 1983. And it was hardly out, but they were singing along to every song.
must have shocked him looking out.
Oh,
Said, wow,
no.
they know my songs.
So let me tell you, I said that to him. I said, did you see them? And he said, Joyce, I wear glasses. I didn't have my contacts
Oh, no.
in.
He missed
said,
it.
it's all a blur. I said, keep doing that because you have this dreamy look in your eye looking out at the audience. And maybe if you could see them really clearly,
Good
you
advice.
might not have that look. I mean, I think he's put contacts, of course, and probably had laser. Maybe he doesn't even need glasses.
Yeah.
But it was in that moment, that I thought, holy moly, this guy's got that charisma, has got that.
Mm-hmm. You got the it
So-
factor, which, the great ones have.
So when he came up to WPLR to do an interview,
Yeah.
I think he did it with Brian Smith.
Yeah, Brian Smith and
Yeah.
Barbara, they were a great team. I think Brian works at.
I don't even think Barbara was there yet. I think it was just Brian doing
Brian's still working on
midday.
radio, doing something at this station called Wow Radio.
Yes. I'm
It's in a
friends
car
with
dealership.
them.
It's in a car dealership somewhere.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it Jeff C? You know that guy?
I don't know.
Free plug for Brian.
Brian, call us.
Yeah,
Yes.
Brian, great guy, great talent.
Yeah, really great guy. But I remember he was speaking to Michael, and I had this idea of like what to do, like how to bring the fans together, because working at MPLR, that's where the calls would come through. And I think I may have mentioned this to you before, where people would call and say, you know, my daughter's dying. I mean, really sad stories.
Yeah.
And like the Starlight Foundation, or, you know, what other foundation? There's so many people they deal with nationwide. And they just wanted to meet, like Michael or Huey Lewis with the news or whatever.
Did you work with Huey?
No, but when he came up to the station, yeah, we had great conversations afterwards at Toad's
I remember
place.
being on the air when he was there with 38 Special at the New Haven
Yes,
Coliseum.
that was the show.
Wow.
That was the show. So let me go back to like manifestation for a second, where we first began our shows talking about this. So it was when MTV first really hit the airwaves. Journey had a video out, and in the background was a woman with a clipboard. And I said to myself, I want that job. I want to be that person behind the scenes working this somehow. And it was at that show with Huey Lewis and 38 Special. I had my clipboard because we had contest winners from PLR, and I was part of like organizing things. And I looked at myself, looked down and said, oh my God, I am this woman with the clipboard.
Right. You manifested.
This is what I manifested.
That's
Yeah. So that was really an eye-opener for me, because I'm laser focused on things. Like, I love Hard, the Beatles,
right.
Billy Squire.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't manifest him yet, but that's okay.
You still have time.
He still looks good. He's
Yeah,
got his
sure
gray
does.
hair. He's singing away.
Okay.
Yes. But, but music has always been so healing for me. I remember on Michael's first, his first album was Fool's Game. Now, I loved Fool's Game. That was really uplifting. It was like intense.
I mean, the one that really got my attention was That's What Love Is All About. I remember that being his first mega hit.
Yeah, that was the first like ballad.
Power ballad.
That he wrote. Yes.
And Soul Provider is like one of my favorites.
Soul Provider.
One of my all-time
oh, my
favorites.
God. Steel Bars. That
Steel
he wrote
Bars, yes, with Bob Dylan.
Yes. But the one that I wore out, yes, and I had a vinyl CD playing this, and I wore it out because it was a bad time romantically in my life with someone who I eventually
we've all had
married.
a few of those,
I
haven't we?
eventually married. No.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. So, but it was, I almost believed you. I almost believed, but it was therapeutic for me because it got out all the sorrow, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone because Michael wrote that. So it really was healing.
What do they say? Sad songs say so much?
Oh,
Like the Elton John song?
Oh, yeah.
It really does, or nobody likes sad songs, but they do. Ronnie Millsap, or so many of those songs.
I love speaking to you about music because it's sort of like the Bible in a way. You remember who sang it. I remember the name in the Bible. I can remember like what resonated with me. You can give me the passage where it came from. You've got a great memory.
Other things like at the radio station, we geek out a lot. We'll have conversations, fellow DJs, and we'll talk in song titles.
Right.
I mean, it's really geeky, but we have so much fun with it, no matter what genre.
So as we wrap up, I just want to give a special nod out because I talked the Beatles, Michael Bolton, Billy Squire. God, Emotions in Motion. How I love that song.
I love Everybody Wants You.
Everybody Wants You. In the Dark.
Yes.
My gosh. Yeah. Also Barry Manilow.
Yep. Great entertainer.
Everything that he did. Bon Jovi, Whitney Houston, Tina Turner. I mean, just
I'm big
music.
fans of all of them.
Music that really shapes our lives.
And each and every day in our house, Joyce, music is playing.
Yes.
With Hattie and I, we have it going on in the morning, all throughout the day. whether it be, rock, soul, rhythm and blues, Christian music we like as well, smooth jazz. It's all going on. Classical music.
Classical
we just love
music
it.
too.
Classical music just soothes us
Right.
when we're doing some
Right.
work in the morning
Right.
around the house.
So why don't you tell us what your favorite songs are? You can leave us a message in our bio. We've got a link, but you can message us on Facebook. We're on there.
And give us ideas for shows you would like.
Absolutely. Talk to us.
Talk to us. This is interactive, and we appreciate you because without you, there's no show.
And maybe we'll have you on the show.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Yes. That's what's good with John and Joyce, right? So thank you so much, and check us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Just type in What's Good with John and Joyce. Share it with everybody. It's free, or you can, check out a whole bunch of other platforms you can subscribe as well. Till next time, there's a song in our heart, right? Keep on singing.
I love that. Bye for now.